So I'm gonna do something kind of interesting here. Um, what about these alien handbags that we see going around everywhere? They get millions and millions of views on YouTube and everywhere else online. People want to know what they are, or maybe feel like they have some insight what they are. Um, and most of the time, what you see is they aren't handbags. I have the answer. One that I saw was oxygen tanks, and I don't. There's reasons I don't think that's the case, and I'll tell you about that in a little bit here. But first, so like, yeah, what I wanted to show was these handbags. Of course, you know what handbags. Oh, he was holding a pine cone there at the beginning. By the way, the first one, he's actually. I'll have to play it again because the way I did this, it flashes by so fast. Okay, watch this. The first one is actually he's holding a pine cone, and it looks like he's about to drop the pine cone in a handbag. Maybe. Why do you think why do you think these interdimensional, extremely ultra powerful, vastly IQs beyond anything we can reason over just about are about to drop pine cones into handbags? Was it like the ancient Mesopotamian pick up sticks? Well, let's explore. One thing I also built this is I built this. It has a lot more to do with boats actually. Um, that picture was of the Egyptian soul barge, the solar bark, it's called, where the soul would be guided on its journey. Back when it was not heliocentric, the soul would be guided on its journey through the underworld and to be reborn. And so we're looking at right now is almost the same principle as those ancient Egyptian solar barges, but the boats were round. So you get that? Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Is that funny? I hope someone thought that was funny out there. Maybe you got the reference. But so yeah, that saying's been around forever, almost since round boats have been around. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. So that alone is just kind of, in a funny way, there's sort of a little bit of a hint when it comes to that. But watch this. Okay, so there you go. If you're standing in the middle of one of these baskets and you're going down into the basket, it looks like what we just saw. The pine cone, looking down into the pine cone, it looks like a weave. Baskets since ancient times were basically woven. All those baskets that you're looking at, they were essentially weaves. Almost like original Celtic knot, where do you like the toy reference, the Stargate toy reference? It almost looks like the same thing. You're looking down into the middle of a mandala, one of those baskets. Now, so the center point, stay centered and grounded. You might want to stay centered and grounded. You might need that discipline and practice because things can get a little bit intense, as they say. So what I wanted to show you is also this video. Then right after that, this is a found video. This is not my video. I didn't work on this and go film it somewhere in Cambridge. So take a look at this video. It's less than 4 minutes long, and it's quite enlightening to the next part of why I'm showing you this and I'm saying things the way I'm saying it. So this only takes a little less than 4 minutes. Here we go. Sorry that the ratio got very slightly stretched, but not like bad, not annoying.
In this museum, we have 130,000 pieces of clay with this writing on. But George Smith's a bit of a hero of mine. Actually, he's a hero of most Assyriologists because he turned out to have an absolute genius for understanding cuneiform almost at sight. Smith, who had been taking these bits of crumbly biscuit and fitting them together to reconstruct a text, suddenly found eventually that he had lines of cuneiform which, when he read them, suddenly revealed to him the situation of the world destroyed by a flood and a heroic person like Noah, only with a different name, told by the gods to build an ark or a boat to rescue life in it, which is what he did. When it came to the actual description of the ark, this large piece of tablet does tell us something about the ark itself, but unfortunately, the lines are not complete. It says the ark you are to build, ... be equal ... and then it's broken. However, there's no need to despair. Once in a while, manna from heaven falls just when you need it. Well, this tablet, as far as I'm concerned, might as well be made of gold, because every line in it is like gold dust. I don't want to be violent, but I have to tell you that I've exposed this tablet to a kind of violence. That's to say, it's psychological squeezing. I felt with this that one couldn't give up until being convinced that there was no more to be got out of it. Okay, so what have we got here? We already knew the basic outline of the story and quite a lot of the detail, but in this case, we are presented with quite a lot of direct and new information. At the beginning of the story, Atram Chassis was quite unaware that he was going to suddenly be pole vaulted into the central position as the saviour of the world. From heaven, the message comes that there's going to be the flood and the ark has to be built. Instead of just saying make a boat and leaving it up to Atrahasis himself, he says that the boat which you are to make, etserti kipati, you draw with the design of a circle. Well, the fact that the text is so unambiguously clear and so unexpected means that the reader who encounters this message is simply flabbergasted. Because, as I see it, the Ark is one of the most familiar, iconic things in the whole world. And I don't think anybody ever had the idea that it might be a round boat. And as you wade through this funny script, syllable by syllable, it hits you in a way that you cannot deny that this was the idea. It was a round boat. You know what is really remarkable is that with this inscription translated into modern English, you could build this thing. You could faithfully follow these dimensions in every detail because the people who did it knew what they were doing.
That was pretty impressive, right? So that was Irving Finkel, and as you may have noticed, the boats were round, and that was a very important thing. The boats were round, like solar shape, like soul bark, ancient Egyptian solar bark, guiding the soul through the underworld or the abyss or a ginormous ass flood. So I would say that is pretty impressive stuff right there. And I've been studying this for kind of a while, so it's like you might be thinking, well, someone out there has to have the answers. I'm not saying I have all the answers, but kind of, like me, I've been studying over this stuff a long time before I even found that video, and that's what sort of helped confirm some things that clicked into place. I was like, wow, of all the videos I could have stumbled across. And then I found out. And then if I can show this one more time, because one thing I want to point out is the wings. The wings suggest flight. I don't think this would be oxygen tanks. Why would they need oxygen tanks if they're interdimensional? They're passing through ethers in astral realms and cosmic travel to where at that point being able to hold air in your lungs is not so much the main thing. So now what is it that they can hold in those baskets? If it's people and we imagine those are arcs, then they would be extremely ginormous interdimensional beings. So I would say pretty much whatever they want to hold in those baskets is what they can hold in those baskets. I hope that I thought that was funny anyway. So basically that's another thing, is one reason I say that too, even there's something behind that, is you don't see people like climbing out of the baskets or even you don't see little human bodies in bas reliefs, if that's the right way to say it, sort of poking up out of the baskets. Because if you ask me, people were more concerned about going down deep into the baskets, and not just that, but like I just said, what would an ancient frickin' 1,000 stories high interdimensional creature that's being depicted, that what would that creature be holding in its basket? Again, whatever the hell it pretty much wants to. But one thing I say is, some people are like, so what is held in the basket? And I think it's pretty much, essentially you. It is souls. Some have said it's an oxygen tank, like I said. Some have even said it's knowledge. Now, when you want to go a step deeper, does it have anything to do with knowledge? In a way, what it might have to do more with is just the fact that as you're going down in there, as you're going down into it, and you're seeing that geometry of the mandala, the flower of life. The flower of life is concentric circles. And again, if the soul boat is round, that helps with the preservation of the genetics, etc., in the life form, then you're talking about souls that are like sort of magnetically forming up, looping up to form a cohesive, almost like you might even say syzygy, or like a synergistic, a fusion in a way, like a fusion of separate suns, almost. So again, don't gather all your eggs in one basket, like sort of a compound, a constellation, and that forms almost in a way a current or a doctrine. So it may not have been knowledge per se. It may have been more like a current or a doctrine where nodes of souls were magnetically like linking up and forming one stargate together, and then would be able to travel through via essentially, yeah, again, the handbag, the basket. So they put you in the basket, and Jessica gets that. That's our inside joke. So let me see, because we crystal shop, and when you crystal shop, there was like, oh, I've got these lovely crystals, and I will put them in your basket, and you're like, no, wait, and they've already dumped a ton of crystals in your basket. So let's see, what else? So what else is really that I want to show here is, you might say, well, why do you have some kind of knowledge about this round boat shape, and with the linking up of these nodes magnetically, and the sacred geometry of the mandala of the center of the basket, and you're going down into that basket, yet it's interdimensional? One thing I want to mention is with the wings again. I'll show this one real quick one more time. This one is with the wings again. You're talking about all of these having wings. You're talking about psychopomps. The nature of psychopomps is in getting you from this part of the earth either to another part of the earth, or another timeline on the same earth, another timeline in what would be this earth but seems so different. People just go ahead and call it an alien world, somewhere else closer to maybe the heart of the Milky Way. You see what I'm getting at? So why would I have any personal experience with anything that might refer to the weaving of these baskets with these nodes, when it comes to these dimensions, interdimensional stuff? You might say so. So that's why, like I said, for a long time I've been so interested. This is my work, by the way. I did this when I was a kid, actually. This is from I want to say not like 8 years old, but I want to say like shortly after 15, and it's like sort of always been there, you might say, and it still took a lot of time to figure out how to cultivate all the seeds and just everything that was in there. And so the last, you got the Hermes staff, and the reason that Hermes staff is there, I'm showing you, is because and then, oh god, what was I going to say about that staff? Just the staff is important. It's the ore for, no, I'm kidding. It's not the ore. Maybe it is the ore. Oh my god. But So essentially, that does sort of tie into the current, the idea of riding on the current and the ability to make the boat go, in a way. So it's not just, you don't just get into the boat and then just drop down to the bottom of the abyss, and I would hope not. So instead, someone with a bit of knowledge and experience who is good enough to show up and say, yes, yes, I will take personal responsibility to help steer the boat, and maybe even poke the giant dark side serpent. There's also, I'm sure dark there's a dark serpent to the lighter serpent of the crystalline flow of energy. So yeah, and that person would be essentially your shaman, your priest, your medicine man. By any title, just a good, big-hearted spiritual person who takes it on themselves and goes to the back of the boat, moves to the far back of the boat, not stands at the front of the boat and barks orders. Barks, solar bark, get it? So yeah, beautiful stuff there, right? Does that help shed some maybe insight a little bit better into this very mysterious? It's received tons and tons and tons of viral views in like the History Channel minute long YouTube shorts, and I see lots of people trying to comment what it possibly is, and so that's a little bit more what it is. It's those handbags itself. They are a mystery, and that's weird. And it's like, well, that doesn't give us closure. They are a mystery. That in itself sort of is the closure. The fact that they are mystery. See, he's dropping the pine cone into the basket. Why are you dropping like crystal pine cones? Because they're pineal glands. What? Why would you want to get the pineal gland stuff into your handbasket? And essentially these were all psychopomps, and probably one of the more hard to handle, probably darker sides of all this might be that the god is also protecting its keep in receiving this sort of the whole two thoughts come to mind that are scriptural too. Be as fishers of men, and you shall know them by their fruits. And the pineal gland is, as we've seen, being put into the handbasket is since ancient times. You might imagine these 1,000-foot story interdimensional beings are doing what we've always done with handbaskets. What were we doing in ancient times with handbaskets? Either we were at a market and putting shiny trinkets in it, or we were doing the thing that probably helped us survive more, and that was putting seeds in it and fruits in it, and especially dropping fruit in there. We were probably dropping lots of fruit and seed, maybe some actual pine cones even. They were probably a lot like ancient medicine bags, which probably would have all kinds of herbs and seeds and sprouts and any kind of offering floral stuff. So yeah. Now again, when it comes to, we think of eggs. Now, so the egg, what's in the egg is the yolk, the golden yolk, which is round, circle shaped, the soul. So there you go. Protect the yolk. What protects the yolk? The famous egg shape, egg casing. So yeah. But so this was, I called this the vortex. This for a long time has just been called the vortex by me. And the wild thing is, this is all stuff that I had down on paper before I knew anything about anything. In other words, I was not studying astrology yet. I didn't know anything about astrology. I didn't know anything about almost anything. I just started to actually pick up science books. That's what I was just starting to pick up, with some science books. And of course, then I was raised in the church, but a very strict, you might say a strict fundamentalist setting, that if something like this was seen, they might even look down on it just automatically and say that's a dark side thing going on there. That's some sort of a shadowy pagan-y thing, even though not unless you make it into that, it's not. So, but I didn't even know anything about anything. It was just in me to do that. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, so great big gigantic psychopomps. That's what the wings implies. Flying souls off in medicine bags with all kinds of stuff and things and herbs. And again, those souls may have been like the fruit for these deities, and probably back in ancient times, you might think, people, and this is sort of held true even in modern times in a way, as people have believed in their deities, that sort of you are like a cell or a fruit that goes back into the body of the god. Now, some are afraid of that, like, oh, does the god tear me apart the way Saturn? I wish I had that picture. Saturn is the Titan Kronos just devouring his own young. And for some people who've undergone it, and it's like once you get beyond the fear, it's not the same kind of consumption as what we see here on Earth with ripping things apart. It's not that sort of a consumption. It probably depends on what you're aligned with, honestly. It depends, I would say. It depends on what you're aligned with. That's just me. So, are you aligned with horrible, dark stuff? Are you aligned with illusions and delusions? And are you mean to people? And are you a bit of a piece of such and such? You know, I don't know. So anyway, I'll leave it at that. I'm just basically dropping my insight, what I have come to find about this whole thing, how it's not just handbags and it's not just oxygen tanks. So, and there you go. Soul boats that people magnetically synchronize with and connect up into, to almost in a way engineer or reverse engineer or sort of build bridgeways to other worlds within worlds, you might say, and end up in their particular, going through their particular halls to their destination points, their resting points, somewhere near the center of the galaxy as they move on from there or what have you. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this little presentation. Thanks for tuning in. Take care.